as I was saying, they advertise more loans and federal grants than anything. When you go on the internet, they advertise more grants and loans to give out more than they even advertise for you to go to school. Because it's a gimmick. You go to the newspaper, they advertise more grants and loans than they advertise in schools. Look at the billboards. They advertise grants and loans more than they advertise for your child to go to school. And the reason why they do that, because it's a gimmick. It's a reason for them to get to school. They advertise to get your GED or your high school diploma because they make it seem that without an education, you can't succeed. Which is partially true. Most jobs you go to now, that pays more than 10 to 15 an hour requires, in some states, a high school diploma. Reason why they say that, because they know that most of organizations and businesses that systematically requires that, and they know for those requirements, most of our black or Latino people are known for not getting a high school education or getting a college education. You have many more other races than it is blacks that are going to colleges. And that's why it is a need for you to have a college education or a high school education also. And a high school education. It's good to have both. I do not knock it. But there are certain things that they're leaving out that they do not teach us. They're teaching us only to be workers. They're not teaching us to be business owners. They're not teaching us to be empire builders. They're not teaching us to be strong power mind thinkers. They're not teaching us any of that. They don't want us to know that, because we will impose the threat. They want to keep us down. They want to keep us down the best way they can. The medical field. I see a lot of brothers and sisters that's going to the medical field. I want to say within a span of 7 to 15 years, a doctor with a PhD would be treated like a medical assistant to a machine or high-tech technology. It's already taken in effect. Those computers, those high-tech machines cannot do what we do. What a lot of people don't know, every time that they do an x-ray, every time that they take blood work, that blood work goes to a lab. That lab sends it to a federal systematic administration institution. That systematic administration institution shoots that up, whether you know it or not, straight to the FDA, which is the Drug and Food Administration. That's why they come up with, that is the reason, because of us and our blood work, they treat us like lab rats indirectly. And once they test our x-rays, they test whatever is documented, and they send it straight to the federal administration institutions of health, or the Department of Health. And they go and send it to the FDA, and that's the reason why they come up with all these medications. That's the reason why they come up with new diseases. Do you actually think somebody is giving us an essay? Giving everybody in the hood an essay? No. No, they're not. They're testing whenever we go. Whenever that we go to the hospital or go to a doctor office. Every time we get tested, every time the doctors stick that needle inside our veins and take blood work, that goes to a higher place. It goes to the Food and Drug Administration. They test our blood and test us like lab rats behind our backs and we don't even know it. That's why they're coming out with new diseases to kill the population. Some of these people, even the FDA, know by the copy of the x-ray that we have a disease. They even have the technology. They've been had the technology to cure AIDS. To tell you if you had AIDS. To detect it the same day. To detect any disease. They even have the cure. But what they tell you, they don't tell you that. They let it pop up. And they're putting documents and posters up saying that it takes from 5 to 10 years in order for AIDS or HIV to show up in your system. That is another way in order for them to lower the population of the masses. They make diseases. With whatever document they get, they make diseases. They make new medicines. They make new medications that contains a chemical which makes you worse than you already are on some documented, administrative, and institutionalized medications, which makes it worse than you already are. And that is another way on how they lower the population also. And who is the target of them? Who is the major target of slowing down the population? The black people and the Latinos. And also the whites that live amongst us. They don't care about us. I'm willing to bet you any type of money. I would give you my life savings if you can tell me anything different. If you go to a private hospital, it's predominantly inside a white or surrounded around a white neighborhood. Now, if you go to a public hospital, I'm willing to bet you that there's more public hospitals in a city or outer city limits that is in a city or a place that has a large mass of black people. Chicago, a large mass of black people. Los Angeles, a large mass of Latino and black people. Miami, blacks, we fill up Miami. Jackson Memorial, that is a black hospital. There are more blacks that go to Jackson Memorial on a daily basis. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Broad General. Too many hospitals. Sumter, South Carolina. There are more blacks in Sumter, There are more blacks in South Carolina than Caucasian people. I'm willing to bet you on that. I'm willing to bet you that. But it's hard to figure out how the hell is South Carolina a Republican state? Something to think about, folks. Something to think about. Let's start. We don't have to break down the institutions. We don't have to break down the institutions. We can break them down in another way. If we exert ourselves from the financial institutions, and we lower the cost and save money in our pockets on the agricultural system and the institutions.